Okay. Ta-da! It worked. Michael, you hear me?
Yeah, we're there.
Nice. Well, I can hear you over there.
Fantastic. Good to see you. We're both in Miami.
So for all people who joined, yeah, we like not only in Miami, we just like that. Here's Michael, and here's me. Yeah, we decided to do it from like not from our hotel apartments, but live from the Miami streets. We're waiting to other people to join, right?
Yes, we'll be joined today by Dr. Greg Rouse of the Scripps Institute of Oceanography's Benthic Convergence Lab, a very important and esteemed aspect and lab over at the collections over at the Scripps Institute of Oceanography, and one of our incredible, we've had an incredible privilege to be a collaborator and along with Dr. Rouse's lab and the Smith labs over at Scripps, as you all know, our dear audience community. And we're approaching a really special moment, I think, for all of us in the course of this project, which is the actual official announcement of the naming of the Xyloplax species, which I know we've all been watching very intently, thinking about, and imagining as a real mascot of sorts and a real kind of kind of small icon of an organism that's out there in real world, um, uh, adding some kind of reflection to our own project and our own thinking about the connection of the environment, the diversity, and life and organisms in general on this planet, along with in relation to our project. And without further ado, I want to introduce you to Dr. Rouse, and he will give us a presentation, a recap of our thing. Hi, Greg.
Hi, Michael. Hi, Daniel. It's a real pleasure to see you both, and hi from San Diego. This is really an exciting opportunity for me. I name a lot of species, so I'm very fortunate that I get to explore the deep sea world, and this is really a final frontier in many ways. So many areas of the deep sea haven't been explored, and I routinely go on expeditions and collect creatures from the deep sea, animals from the deep sea. And what I want to tell you about today is one particular species that is the new species that will be named, and why I think it was a really very special one, and I think why Michael chose it is it's just quite spectacular, but also is very unique in quite a few ways. So I'm going to share my screen and just tell you a quick few minute story about this creature. So can you all see me there, Michael?
Yes, I can see your screen, Greg.
It's good. So the name of this group is the sea daisies, and this is an original drawing of one, and these were only discovered in the 1980s, and there's literally only 4 species known of this in the entire world now. And xylo means wood, and plax means flat. So these were a flattened little group, and they're in the echinoderms. They're related to sea stars, sea urchins, sea lilies, sea cucumbers, that kind of group, if you're familiar with them from the seashore. But their nickname, their common name is the sea daisies. And they were first discovered off New Zealand back in 1986 from deep sea. And the special thing, or one of the special things about them, is that they only live on wood. So imagine a river, a tree falls into a river, and it ends up floating out to sea. Sometimes we see these logs wash ashore, and you might have even seen these logs, and they have often animals living on them. There's a famous group called shipworms that can actually eat the wood. But often the wood will sink, and it'll sink into the deep sea. And there are actually other creatures that live down there deep, and they're able to live off the wood. So they're taking food from the land, and it becomes their nutrition, even at 3,000, 4,000 meters deep, like 2 or 3 miles down. So the challenge has been to sample and find creatures from down there. And that's why many of these discoveries are only happening now, because we've got better technology to sample from the sea floor. So in 1986, and that's why we keep finding new weird creatures in there. So 1986, the first of these Xyloplax was found and named. And a thing to keep in mind is that species have a double name. Our name as humans is Homo sapiens. We have a genus name, Homo, and a species name, Sapiens. And this particular group is called Xyloplax. That's its genus, equivalent to our Homo. And then this first one was called Medusiformis as its species name. And today what we're going to hear announced is the new species name for the new Xyloplax that we've just discovered. There were only 2 more discovered in the period since 1986 until we started working on Xyloplax, and one was off the Bahamas in 1988, one off the Oregon in 2006. And then I was working on a project with a group of people, and we use DNA technology to understand a lot about the evolution of creatures, and we published a paper on the evolution of sea stars. And this is the title of that paper. And notice there's a Xyloplax is mentioned in the paper. And we actually, using this way of viewing evolutionary relationships, is called an evolutionary tree. The branching pattern shows you how creatures are related. And we actually showed that the Xyloplax group is a part of the sea stars. And for a while, people considered them as so strange, as so weird, that they were a group outside the sea stars, and for a while they were thought of as their own class, their own group, equivalent to the sea stars, equivalent to sea urchins, equivalent to the sea cucumbers. But now we know actually they're just a very strange and unusual star. For me, that doesn't reduce its importance at all. I still think they're an amazing and astonishing group. They have so many unusual things about their biology that I'm excited to tell you a little bit about them. Now, we have one Xyloplax from Mexico that we're preparing a paper on already. And this is going to be named after Prince Albert of Monaco, who's done a lot to support marine conservation. But surprisingly, and this was named up off, we found this off Oregon, and that was this topic in our paper that I showed you the molecular DNA work for. And we thought, okay, well, Eastern Pacific, there's only been a couple discovered in the whole world so far. And that's it, species number 4. But then I work in Costa Rica as well. And in a few years ago, in 2017, we found a piece of wood. Now, Costa Rica has a lot of wood flowing into its rivers. And here you're looking at a piece of wood lying at about 2,000 meters, about 100 to 200 miles offshore from Costa Rica. It's just a stick. But you can see there are creatures on that wood. And the little creature of interest here, it's about 1 centimeter long. There it is, that disc. This is in the robot's arm. We used a submersible, a submarine. We're sitting on the ship. We send down this vehicle that's about the size of a car. And it's amazingly delicate in what it can pick up. And here it's picked up that piece of wood. It's kind of eroded. It's got a little shell on it. Over here, a chain of male shell there. But when I saw this little disc there, I got very excited because I knew that it was another sea daisy. And we then sequenced its DNA, and we were able to show, we found about 12 of these specimens on the course of that cruise in 2018, 2019. And we've got about 10 specimens of it, and it's evolutionarily distinct from all the other species. Its divergence is about 10% in terms of DNA, which is equivalent or more than the distance that we are from Sorry, I'm going the wrong way. I don't know why. What's happening here? It's more than the distance that we are from chimpanzees. So just to give you some perspective, we are about 7 or 8% divergent from chimpanzees, and this new Xyloplax that I was calling for a while spiky, because it's much more spiky than the Prince Albert one and it's bigger, is about that or more level of divergence. And when we look at them, it's actually quite different from the other one that we found that was relatively smooth. What was really cool about this new discovery was, and we're still trying to understand how it can eat wood. That's one of the topics we're investigating, but also that these give birth to live young. They actually were pregnant. They have little baby little sea daisies living inside them. And I was able to get some of those out. And we'll be doing a developmental study as part of this paper that describes the species. So I'm very excited to document the first documentation of how these Xyloplax grow. And this is basically a summary picture of what we've discovered, where it was found, the picture of the Xyloplax, the 5th species of sea daisy in the world. Here's a beautiful portrait of the animal. You can see through it, it's hermaphroditic. It's a male and female at the same time. And you can see the few little babies sitting there inside the body of the mother-father. And we've sequenced its DNA. We're going to do its whole mitochondrial genome as part of this. We'll describe a little bit about its biology. We'll speculate and try and understand how it's feeding on the wood. And we will give it that official new name that Michael is about to announce. We will then publish that in a scientific paper that goes through peer review. And once the paper appears in press in a year or so, it will be an official name added to the canon of about 1.8 million species of animals named to date, but this will only be species number 5 of the beautiful group Xyloplax. And it'll be published in something like this kind of paper here. And I'm trying to get out of my screen. Okay, that's all I've got.
Oh, Greg, thank you for that. That was an amazing presentation and recap. Again, it got me thinking about the Xyloplax in a new way again, and really great the kind of insight onto some of its geology and nature as an organism. So super exciting to be at this moment to announce and the name that will join the other names in the scientific community that will be referenced in any ways and reflect our participation and what we've learned through our kind of time with you and collaboration, which I hope is only the beginning of a discourse with our project community. And because I certainly know from the sounds of things that you won't be stopping at any time soon in your exploration and research. And so I think perhaps I should now tell you what our community has unanimously voted on as our species name. And I know according to Latinization and some of the things and that you know and your experience with such naming, that you also help to guide us and create suggestions. In a way, this might be a live process as well, and or maybe we'll get it right first time. But our community officially voted name is Xyloplax aetiorum, AETHEORUM. And our community member notes that the community member whose Twitter handle is SSHIIB3 has noted their reason for choosing this name was its Latin meaning, or a connection to the ether, thing ethereal, and otherworldly and ephemeral. Any
I
thoughts
like
on
it,
that, Craig?
and
Seems rather appropriate, and it does look like a star. It almost, in its
yeah,
transparency, seems to have an
and the
entire kind of
ending.
solar system or galaxy inside it.
The ending you've chosen would refer to a group or a community in that sense. So, of the stars or of the ether. Yeah, I'll have to check the Latin root, but aurum is referring to a group, so, or a community. So that, I think that's a very appropriate ending.
Fantastic. I think there's a somewhat of a resonance with the term Ethereum and the of the kind of cryptocurrency that this was traded in and revolves around as well as part of the media of this piece.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
Fantastic.
also really appropriate. So I don't think there's any. I would say that's an ideally formulated Latin name. So Xyloplax Ethiorum new species it will be.
Fantastic. Thank you. We're really excited, and one of the reasons we were so, I think, tuned in was many of our community members had chosen and rallied around names that related to NFTs and non-fungible tokens and the idea of blockchain and cryptocurrency. So in some ways it reflects perhaps both old school and new school kind of versions of naming, and hopefully continue onwards. I'm glad you like it, though.
I do. I'm imagining that this project will probably be led by my graduate students, so we'll collaborate. It's a kind of scope for a good master's in science project, so I can see the student. It's a very exciting way to start off a scientific career, so I'll be happy to mentor someone to lead the process of naming this new species. So it'll be integral to the training of a new scientist and a really exciting new species to name. And I love this angle of engaging with an artistic community as well. And I love this nexus of science and art. I think it's really fantastic. And often scientists sitting in their ivory tower have a challenge in engaging with the public community, and this kind of collaboration I think is going to really help with that. So I'm really thankful that you've reached out to us at Scripps and helping us to get the word out there about deep sea biodiversity.
Thanks, Dr. Rouse. Craig, we're so honored and thrilled to be working with you and for this opportunity. And Daniil and I and the team, I know on behalf of everyone, we hope again that this is the beginning, and we're really looking forward to being in contact with your graduate student as well. And the idea that our community might, in some ways be able to be inspired by the research and exploration at the edges that you do, as well as on the ground, the kind of education and passing on knowledge for future generations that the institution represents as well. So thanks again from all of us.
Yeah, well, this is a process. So we need to gather more data. What I'm excited to share with you, I hope, will be this little animal has a hard skeleton. It's got these little spicules and hard parts. So we'll try and run this through what's called a CT scanner. You might all be familiar with this technology for scanning our bodies for medical purposes. But we've got something called a micro CT scanner, and we'll put one of the Xyloplax Ethorium into the scanner, and we'll make a 3D rotating model of it. Maybe you'll end up making it a NFT, and it'll be part of the description where we have this online rotating model. It's just so more exciting to have something like that people can manipulate on the web, as well as having the imagery that will generate, as well as light microscopy. We'll have scanning electron microscopy to give really high resolution magnification images, and we'll do a lot of detailed DNA work. So this is going to be a really explored and documented new species, much more so than most new species that are named.
Oh, that is incredibly exciting. I know that you had mentioned before the prospect of 3D models, potentially of the Xyloplax, in our community is rallied around, and I think that is going to be something really, really special. An NFT, don't miss ideas. I think we're already on that now. So I think we better begin. Thanks. I look forward to any kind of knowledge of the next steps that you think we should be doing, and look out for you. But I guess we'll see update, and we'll certainly post them for the community.
Well, what I'd like to do is do some just prints of that image that I showed you, and to share with your winner who chose the name. I can do a nice 13 by 19 print, and I'll mail you over a few copies so you can send one on to the winner, and of course retain some for your group as well. And there'll be a token of the process, because it's going to take a year or two to sort this out and get it published, and we'll be engaging with you along the way as we build on the data set and get the paper underway.
Really exciting. Sorry, I have a truck nearby me, so I'm refraining from replying. I'll make it brief in this case and say thank you very much. We're so excited about that, and thanks for this opportunity at this moment, and we'll share this and pass this on with our community members that couldn't be with us today, and look forward to what's next. Thank you, Greg.
All right. Thank you very much, Michael. Thanks, everybody.